month, I covered talking about adding new habits into your life, right? It was good. I'm glad somebody thinks. That's one out of thousands of people that said that, Junior. That's perfect. Thank you. But this month, I wanted to talk about breaking a bad habit. So last month, I talked about putting new habits in, but this month, I want to cover, just for a few minutes, breaking a bad habit. But how many of you know, based on who you want to become, there's always a habit in your life that you need to change or break to get you there, right? To get you to the next level. Whatever that habit is, how many of you know that sometimes it's kind of hard for us to share sometimes? To everybody. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be hard to share what those habits are. And I love, and how many of you know you cannot stop what defines you, right? How many of you know that people see you differently? Everybody sees you differently. But how many know that what you can do is you can change you, and then when you change you, it changes people's point of view on you. And that's a habit. And I love what Walt Disney said, and he simply says it's kind of fun to do the impossible. How many of you know creating a new habit stopping an old habit or bad habit and creating new habits in your life is fun because it's impossible. It's not impossible, but how many of you know that when you start it, it seems impossible? How many of you have started something new and you get going and you're like, I can't do this? Or like, I'm never going to be able to do this? Or how many of you have had those negative thoughts? We've all had negative thoughts. And if you're not raising your hand, you're lying to yourself. Just saying. But how many of you know we all have that stuff, or we have friends in our life that even if we didn't have those negative thoughts, they always say, hey, you're not going to be able to do that. We have those people in our lives that are always those negative Nellies. How many of y'all, some of you probably don't know this, but how many of you remember Little House on the Prairie? I can't remember, was it Nellie was the girl's name on the show that was like always like a brat and it was always negative and was always getting into trouble? Negative Nellie, that's where I got that from. I remember we had it on TV one time and Heath was like, what are we watching? But how many of you know we have those people in our life? And that can be a habit of having people in our lives. So I'm excited. This first point's kind of fun. And how many of you know there's always something that's going to trigger you to start that bad habit or get you into that bad habit? So one of my things point one is remove the trigger that makes you start doing the bad habit. Another way to put it is remove the thing in your life that you feel like automatically puts you in the mode to do the habit that destroys you. Whatever that is. And I just want to give you 5, I'm going to say them real fast here, just things that I think could be things that can get people down the path of doing bad habits. How many of you know it's places, it's time, it's mood, it's moments, and it's people? How many of you know it could be, you go anywhere, it could be work is a place. And you can just walk by somebody's desk, and that could be the person. And you walk by, and you hear them say something to somebody else, but it automatically kicks you into that thing of, it could be your negative. You walk by that person, and it makes you think negative thoughts. At work, you walk by the water cooler, and some guy's telling some bad joke you shouldn't be hearing. Or how many of you know it could be you looking at something you shouldn't be seeing, or it could be hearing something you shouldn't be listening to, or it could be a movie you shouldn't be watching, or it could be anything. It could be food you shouldn't be eating. Oh, hey. You know, my dad always jokes about how my mom's got him running 10 miles a day and eating grass, right? How many of you know that's a habit? It's a habit. How many of you know whenever you get into those situations, the mood you are in could be a bad habit? The mood. How many of you know attitude is so important with anything you do? Your attitude. There's some things in my life that I don't want to do, and I just downright can't stand to do. But how many of you know my attitude and my mood towards that will determine how I see that thing? So every time I have to do, I'm not going to see the things, but how many know there's certain things in everybody's life that we just don't like to do? So your perspective on what you have to do, the habit, you have to build habits in your life to make sure you always think around the things you don't want to do, to get you to get through those moments. So I want to encourage you to just remove the thing that makes you start doing the bad habits. Number 2 is interrupt the action. Interrupt the action. You're saying, Blake, What do you mean by interrupting the action? You could find now. How many of you know you found yourself doing a bad habit? You've caught yourself in the middle of you doing something. You're like, wait a second, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? How many of you know once you catch yourself in the middle of it, I want you all to put something in your life that as soon as you catch yourself in the action of the habit that you have, to get you to not continue the next steps that continues that habit. What is it in your life that you have that you find yourself starting? Like I remember, prime example, I love Chipotle. I love Chipotle. But there is times that I don't realize I'll be leaving our neighborhood. There's a Chipotle 5 minutes from my house. I've timed it. It's 5 minutes from my house. And there's times where I'll be going to do something completely opposite. But I am so used to going to Chipotle in my neighborhood, I find myself in the lane turning into the Chipotle when I don't even need to go there. But how many of you know I've built that habit of going, oh wait, I'm not going to Chipotle. But how many of you know it's the building that something, and once you realize you're like, oh shoot, I have to correct to go somewhere else. That's why I always love, my dad always encourages people, if you go to work the same way every time you go to work, change your direction you go to work. If you go to church the same way every week, change the route you go to church. What it does is it breaks up your habit and your routine in your life. Because how many of you know once you get a bad habit and you get a consistent thing in your life, it can get you stuck in a rut. I'm not saying consistency is bad. Consistency is amazing. But when you get so close to where you get so mind-numbingly used to going a certain way, how many of you know sometimes it can be a bad habit? It's so true. Like, I'll give you a prime example. How many of you love to hit snooze on your alarm when you wake up in the morning? I know Tiffany does, just saying. No, I'm kidding. No, she loves getting up in the morning. But how many of you know if you start realizing you hit snooze 2 or 3 times on your alarm, I want you to put a habit in your life is put the alarm in the opposite side of the room. You're saying, what does that do? It makes you not hit snooze. You have to actually get out of bed to go turn it off. It gets you up. It's so good. Why rest in temptations today when you can resist them tomorrow? How many of you know how many of you you're like, oh, I'm probably going to do this tomorrow. There's like, you automatically know it's a habit I'm going to do tomorrow. But how many of you know a bad habit? I want to encourage you guys to build something in your life today to where you don't have to resist it tomorrow. Building a safeguard, building something in your life to where you go, okay, I'm probably going to do this habit more and more and more because I've built it into as a habit. Then I want to put something in my life to where I know I can stop it now so it doesn't keep destroying me in the future. What you do in private will eventually come out in public. Guys, that's huge. How many of you know that, I'm just going to say some things here. How many of you know of like people, if they have a drinking problem in private, eventually it'll come out in public. Or they have drug addictions in private and it'll eventually come out in public. Or they have things they say or how they say things to people in private will eventually come out in public. How you lead yourself will eventually come out in public. Because it eventually is how you lead yourself will eventually how you lead others. Habits. So I just want to encourage you. Point number 3 is put people in your life to help prevent you from destroying yourself. And you're saying, Blake, why are you talking? I'm not talking negative. But how many of you know having people in your life, how many know, it's so true, the 5 closest people you hang out with will eventually determine what you become. The 5 closest friends you have. How many of you know the people that you have pouring into you will eventually is what's going to come out of your life? It'll be what you do for your life. It'll be what you do in your life. And one of the biggest things is I want to encourage you is to find one habit that you think you shouldn't do every month and try to change it with a good habit. 1 habit a month. 1 habit a month. And how many of you know that's 30 days in a month? How many of you know you think you can change 1 bad habit in your month to a good new habit? Do you think we can do that? Yeah. I love this quote. It says, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks, but I fear the man who has practiced 1 kick 10,000 times." But how many of you know that's habit? That's a habit. And and when I read that the other day, I was thinking, how many of you know I've had uncles and cousins and friends that have done karate and all this stuff, and the coach, I don't know what the coach is called. Sorry, I've never took karate or anything, but whatever the coach is, the mentor is in their master, their dojo, whatever it is. How many of you know I've had friends come and tell me stories about how they were doing these boxing kicks or whatever it's called, and the coach finally came to them and said, "Hey, you're doing it wrong. Let me show you how to do it right, so you don't build the bad habit in your life of doing something wrong." And how many of you know it's important to have a mentor in your life to go, "Hey, bro, let's bring you back on the straight and narrow. Let's bring you back on the straight and narrow." And I want to be very encouraging to y'all, but I want y'all to do something for me. Can y'all do something for me? If you figure out what that habit is in your life that you're like, that's something I need to change, I want you to be very specific and very honest with yourself with what that is. And I want you to name it. Name the habit. And because how many of you know when you name something and you set a goal on something, it's a lot harder to break something you've committed to yourself. It's a lot harder to commit. How many of you know losing weight is not fun? But how many of you know eating junk food is a bad habit? It's okay like every once in a while to go through McDonald's or get a Big Mac. Whatever it is as Spencer says he loves Taco Bell. I just call it Schmeat, but it's like, but how many of you know Taco Bell's probably not the greatest thing for you? It's got to clog those arteries and help you not go to the bathroom as much. I don't know. It's got to do something. But how many of you know if you eat Taco Bell every single day for a year, you're probably going to end up in the hospital? Probably just a good guess. But how many of you know changing your habits to once a day to once a month? Whatever that habit is. And that's what I've had to figure out, because I used to go to Chipotle probably 3 or 4 times a week. Easily. And I'm not saying Chipotle is bad for you, but how many know sometimes that what you get at wherever you go can be determining to be bad for you? And I've had to shift from eating whatever I wanted, or whatever, I don't know. And how many of you know I have friends, and I'm just going to be open and honest with you. I've had, not personal friends, but friends we've met along the way that they've smoked weed, they smoked drugs, they smoked all this different stuff. But how many of you know the more and more you do something like that, the less and less you get used to it? I mean, the more and more you get used to it, and the less and less the effect it has on you. I'll give you a prime example. I was so sad when I heard about this, but I'm a musician. But how many of you know that you probably don't know this, but there was a drummer that passed away last week, a couple weeks ago. And he had a bunch of mixed drugs in his body. But it was the association and the people he hung around influenced a habit in his life that made it bad. And I know you keep hearing me say people around you, but how many of you know the people around you are a habit? The people you choose to hang around is a habit. That's why I was so grateful to my parents, as they put me around the right people even when I didn't want to be around them. Because how many know sometimes at a young age you can't totally see the whole picture? Yeah, it's so huge. But I just want to encourage y'all to put action steps in place to get the habits changed, right? How many of you know putting action steps? And this is just how my brain works, but I have to have a list. My mom laughs at me because she'll spout off 12 different things to me that she needs me to do. I'm like, can you put that in a text for me, please? So I can see it. I need to see it. But how many know that's a habit I've built in my life that I have to see? I have to go, okay, step 1, step 2, step 6. And how many know sometimes that works better for people than just having everything everywhere. Everything everywhere. But I love that, and it's so true. But how many of you know if you can put the action into practice, practice turns into a habit very quickly. Very quickly. And I'm going to end with this, and I'm going to bring my amazing father up here. But how many of you know the things you do in your past will determine what you do in your future, right? And I was watching an interview the other day. They were talking about Tiger Woods, for the golfer. And they were talking about all the habits he's built in his life to get to where he is. And I love one of the commentators was like, Tiger's opponents have never been people. They've always been his habits and history. Tiger's opponents have always been his habits and history. And I just want to encourage y'all, y'all's opponents are not your neighbors or your cousins or your brothers or your sisters or your sons or your daughters or whatever it is. Your opponent is, there's three things I believe. It's yourself, it's your past, and it's your future. That's your opponents. Because how many of you know what you've done in your past you can change in the future? And what you're doing in the present is going to be different than tomorrow. And I love what my dad always says is what you do today, your future, I don't remember exactly the words, but he'll correct me when he comes up here. But what you do today will not be what you do tomorrow. You can be different. You can change your habits. And I love what Arnold Palmer said. He simply said, it is amazing what can be done when you don't care who gets the credit. I'm not afraid to go to my dad and go, hey, I messed up. How do I change this habit in my life so I don't keep doing it again? So I just want to encourage y'all to never be afraid to ask for help, to put new habits in your life, to defeat the old habits. So I just want to encourage y'all to remove the things in your life that causes you to start the bad habits. Interrupt the actions. Have people in your life that'll help correct the actions you do to get to that point. Whatever that point is. And three is finally is find one bad habit a month to change to a good habit. I think those are pretty simple steps, right, guys? Was that clear? Is that clear? Cool. So I'm going to bring up the guy that helped me get over bad habits. And I'm sure there's a bunch more. He's going to come to me later and go, hey, why don't we work on this? But how many of you know change is never ending? And I'm so thankful for this man to help me understand that I was never too old or never too young to learn. So will you please help me welcome my amazing father, Mr. Tim Goad.
Thank you. Great job, Tiger. That was amazing, bro. Thank you. It's a lot of wisdom for a young man. Oh my gosh, that's deep. Thank you. I'm going to be processing on that for a while. I don't like for people to talk about my habits. I want my own habits. Anyhow, let me welcome online. We're so glad you're here. This is leadership. We tie this into the men's call and into our locker rooms. You're going to find out this year we're building on precept after precept, which means we're going to take a subject and we're going to keep building on it from different angles so that we can see what we need to see so we can advance. How many of you have a dream? I'm really excited because tonight I've spent the greatest part of my life, truthfully, leading people to Christ and then discipling them. And then the second part of that is I've spent the greatest part of my life also helping people build their dreams and helping people build their lives. And I think dreams are given by God, and I think they're powerful. And I think the enemy is really afraid of you when you get a dream in your heart because it puts focus in your life. When you get a dream in your heart, it puts focus in your life. And so today I want to talk to you about how to be an inspiring leader. How to inspire your team. How do you help your team reach their potential and become the best they can be? And I think not only in your life right now should you be thinking about how can I help my team, but here's what I know. What you do for others, God is going to make happen for you. A lot of people treat the people they love really good, and then they treat everybody else with not such a great attitude and not such a great heart. According to IBM, there was a study of 1,700 CEOs in 64 companies and countries, and one of the top 3 qualities of a leader that they can possess and have is the ability to inspire people to action. Getting people to move. Getting people not only to have a dream, but getting them to chase their dream. Right now, I'm talking to a lot of people that you're gifted, you're talented, you have a calling. You're just not moving. You're not moving. You feel stuck. You feel a little bit stifled. You feel a little bit nervous. And so how do you enthuse and help people believe that they can move? And how do you encourage and energize and motivate and engage and appreciate people? They believe that they do matter. That's what you've got to do in your team. If people don't feel like they're valuable, if they don't feel like they matter, there's a really good chance they're not going to perform at their highest, especially for you. It's why sometimes as a leader, another leader can come in and they can motivate people in a way that you cannot motivate. And it's sometimes we think it's knowledge, sometimes we think it's charisma, but really what it is the ability to inspire people. Now the difference between motivating people, and I think a lot of leaders think that their main job is to motivate, and we should motivate, but truthfully when you're motivating people, you're pushing them. When you're inspiring people, you're actually pulling them. Come with me. And normally you're on the journey with them. So, motivational leaders push you to do more, and inspirational leaders pull your best out of you. This is so huge. I could spend the rest of this lesson on this, because most of you have been trained by people that teach you to push people, when in fact what you should be being taught is how to pull the best out of people. Now, often when I pull the best out of people, they've got to die to old habits, and my son just spoke to it. It's habits the way you speak to yourself. It's how you speak to other people. I just want to say this, leaders. If you want to be inspiring, do not ever let a negative word come out of your mouth. Negative motivation does not work. Criticizing people does not work. Critiquing people does not work. It's all led in fear. And anytime you're motivating, please hear me, somebody with fear, you're building a follower, not a leader. What a leader does is reach in somebody's heart and go, you've got this. This is who you are. It's not how you're acting. It's not how you're behaving, but it's who you are. Most of us right now in life are scared of people because we don't know who they are. Who are you? I watch people change, and sometimes they change so drastically, they scare me because I know how hard change is. But change is made way easier when I step into what I really am instead of acting in a way that I'm not. We get trained to act in the way that we are not to try to protect ourselves. That's a lot. Inspirational leaders come in all shapes and styles. The ability to inspire is not a gift that you're born with. I need you to hear me, because some of you people just go, oh, they're just so gifted at it. No, they've learned this skill. They've learned this skill. Inspirational leaders are made, not born. When you become more self-aware, write that down in capital letters. Self-aware. Most leaders are not aware of what their words and actions and body language does in an environment. They wonder why people are discouraged and depressed and despondent. And so many times it's because we're not aware of what our own words and what our own body language is saying. You can show people with your body language that you believe in them, or you can show them with your body language without saying anything that I don't really believe in you. With your body language. You don't have to say a word. Just your body language. The way you listen to people. We're going to talk about this in a minute. The way you listen to people, the way you honor people, the way you care for people, the words you say about people. Every week of my life, my phone lights up with people going, "You're not going to believe what my leader did to me." Do you know what causes that? I'm not being mean. The lack of self-awareness. We just don't know. We don't know our words. We don't know our actions. We don't know because we're not aware of how we make people feel. Not just what we are asking them to think and do. Really, really critical. So, here's what I want you to know. You can improve those inspirational qualities and characteristics that you may not even know you need to know, or that maybe you don't realize you have them, and that you can increase them. Okay, that is a lot. I probably could shut this down and you would have a lot to chew on for the next month. Here's what I can tell you. Research done by the Bain Company reveals there are 33 main traits that inspirational leaders have. You'll be really hard-pressed to find a leader that has all 33 qualities. But here's the really great news. You don't need all 33 qualities. You only need 2 or 3 to be incredibly powerful in the lives of the people that you lead. So as you look at it, here are some paraphrased versions of just a few of those traits. Number 1 is emotional expression. Is emotional expression. 2 is a positive attitude. 3 is keeping your word. Oh my goodness. The next one is appreciating your team. The next one is leading with humility. The next one is expressing empathy or validating. If you try to make somebody move too fast from where they are in the pain they're in, they will hate you. You've got to give them a moment to go, "I understand that is incredibly painful. Now let's move." On 3 calls today with leaders, every one of them I handled the same subject, and here's what it is. You're either going to pay a lot of attention to what you're going through, or you're going to pay way more attention of where you're going to. Most of us stay mad. Well, you don't know what they did to me. And before long, that kind of thinking will turn you into a victim. And you'll be immature and you will not bear fruit. You will absolutely bear fruit that die and go away. It just is what happens. So, when you listen and value those you lead, it changes everything. Let me say that one more time. When you listen and value those you lead. Now, that's not only in your company. That's not only in your job. That's not only at church. And you can't just value and listen to people you like. I'm telling you, you got to listen to people that you can't stand. I don't like them. They don't like me. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's not leadership. Leadership is listening and valuing people you don't even like. Now, there's a difference between liking them and trusting them. Oh yeah, we can talk about that. So, you might look at this list and go, "You know what? I got 1 or 2 of those, and I just want to tell you, don't be discouraged. Here's what the research has also shown. You need 1 or 2 of these well-developed strengths. Well-developed. Write in capital letters, well-developed. Not just have it. It's got to be well-developed to inspire people. To be an inspirational leader. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you to stop thinking that negative motivation is going to cause people to go into action. And some of us have been taught it all too well. And we call people names, and we think we're going to get big returns out of them. When you hurt somebody, when you offend somebody, I promise you they've shut down. Now, they may not tell you. Most of the time, they'll just leave. So, sometimes you don't even have to do anything, and you offend people because they had an expectation for you. Well, Tim, what do I do about that? There are some things you cannot control, but guys, let's work. Let's work on getting better at a few of these. When I look at my own life, I realize that there are 2 or 3 or 4 of these that I really stay with. Number one, I'm incredibly consistent. Anybody that knows me know I'm predictable, dependable, and defendable. Here's why that matters. Here's why that matters, leaders. People will not bring people to you if you're not consistent, if you're not predictable. They'll go, no, I can't trust you. I'm not going to do that. I don't know if you're going to be moody. I don't know who I'm going to meet. People don't want to be around those people because most people are insecure. Most leaders are insecure, and they want to be around somebody that's consistent. And some of us right now, we're not consistent with our awareness, and we're not consistent of our body language of how we meet people. Okay. The second thing is I really am a focus fanatic. I will stay on it till it gets done. I am relentless. I don't let up. I'm focusing on where I'm going to, not what I'm going through. Most leaders that I'm around, most people that I'm around want God to deliver them out of a thing that is making them what they need to be. Pressure is what creates diamonds. And in your life, the right pressure, the right resistance will cause you to build a muscle. That's why we lift weights. That's why we run. That's why we do what we do. So, can I tell you, are you easily distracted? Oh, look over there. Oh, look over there. Most leaders right now spend way too much time on working on things that do not cause the company, the organization, and the paycheck to go forwards. There are many of you right now that could double how much you make if you could just stop this thing of broken focus. You work on all the wrong things. You know what you do? You stay in the comfortable place and you don't change the things that you need to change. So nothing changes, nothing changes. The third thing is, and I'm an incredible encourager. I encourage. Today, I probably called no less than 10 people just to go, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of them when they're down, and I'm proud of them when they're winning. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Can I give you a little secret? When people are winning, they're scared. Do you know why? They're going, oh my God, I'm in over my head, and I'm not going to be able to pull this off again. And they start building pressure in their soul that, oh my goodness, I'm going to let myself down and everybody else around me down, and I'm going to be embarrassed. Leaders, you think the time to correct people is when they're at their highest moment. Do not be fooled or deceived that they're at their highest moment. They're actually at their most vulnerable moment. And you need to step in and go, look at you. Hey, don't focus on what you're going through. Focus on where you're going to. And if you really want to win, focus on doing what you need to do to win. I have so many friends right now. They don't stay in the creative part of their business. They're working on stuff that doesn't matter. And it will never change the decimal point in your paycheck. So here's the question for you. Here's the question for you. How do you get more done in less time? How are you more efficient and more effective? How do I expand your mind? You see, some of us think we're right, and so we step into an environment and we want everybody to think the way I think. That is dangerous. I step into an environment and listen to where people are. Did you hear me? I don't listen to what they say. I listen to where they are. When people open their mouth, they tell you exactly where they are. Well, I'm in control. Well, I'm out of control. Well, I feel loved and I don't feel loved. And you would tell me, what has that got to do with anything? Only everything. Because when people feel happy, they're more productive. So what my goal is as a leader is to step into their lives and encourage them and build them and believe in them. And some of them are not doing it right, but they're doing it at the best that they know how right now. And I'm just going to stay with them. And let me tell you, there's a little word called pain that after a while, when people are doing their best and it's not producing what they really want to produce, they're going to come and go, what do I need to do? Now, as a leader, you can be a motivator and kick them right in the rear. Or you can come over and sit down and say, hey, what do you want? Are you going for what you want? So here's what I would encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to understand that of leaders, the one quality that matters more than any other single quality in a leader is a word called centeredness. Centeredness. There's a good chance that, honestly, you don't know what that means, but you sure know what it feels like. You know what it's to be around somebody that is not centered. And you don't know the word to say on it. You just know you're going, I'm not going to give my best in this situation. It's leading from a state of assuredness. It has good internal alignment, being guided by values, being driven by purpose, and being obsessed with a mission. It's not chasing a competitor. It's not looking around and going, hey, what are they doing? It's actually, whoa, come on. It's living my calling. If you ever spend any time with me, I'm going to tell you the difference between influence and authority. Influence simply says, I'm going to have an impact on you. And we all are, positive and negative. When you really, really look at how you make a difference in somebody's life, it's through authority. Do you know what authority is? Authority is not authoritarian. It's not being a dictator. It's actually knowing who you are and knowing what you're not and being okay with it. You walk in authority. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to do everything. Matter of fact, I don't want to do everything. I don't want to be everything. It's one of the things that I see make people make really, really major decisions that are wrong. Leveraging your inspirational strengths to help your team feel and believe they are part of something bigger than you. You make people feel small. If people are not at your level, do you name call them? You put them down? Or do you walk over to them and say, I just want to let you know that our team is winning because of your example. Leaders are continually giving credit away. It's you that are making the difference. It's you, your gift. What am I teaching people when I do that? Humility. Humility. So, as you begin to look at this, if you don't know how your people around you feel, and many leaders don't, I just want to tell you, you should. The first thing I check when I go into my house is I want to know what my wife and my children are feeling. I want to know the battle they in, how are they feeling? I have really good friends that are high performers, and anytime I get around them, I ask them, how are they feeling? Some people will tell you, well, you know, I'm fired up, but I'm a little exhausted. I'm suffering right now. And some people, just honestly, they won't tell you what they feel because they're so prideful. They don't want you to know. What do I do with that as a leader? Do I push on them? No, I pull them. Well, I don't know if you've ever noticed or not. And leaders, listen, if you're leading people every time you talk, you need to let them know you struggle. Because they think you're so good, you don't ever have a struggle. You're so close to God, you don't ever have a need. You got such a connection with him, he just downloads things to you all the time. No, there have been days in my life that I have walked by faith and not by sight. I didn't know what I was doing, but I still did it. You're going to have those days. People need to understand that when you have your greatest victory, you're probably going to have your greatest battle. The enemy's going to come and attack you. Discouragement, fear, relationally, he's going to come after you. Now, am I giving credit to him? No, I'm equipping you and encouraging you and empowering right now so that you won't get taken out by when the enemy comes and attacks you. He'll cause you to say things that you wish you wouldn't say. So, are you ready? Facts don't inspire people to action. God. Emotions move people to action. And yet you're trying to spell facts. Oh, Tim, how does that work? If I told you the facts, that 20 million children went to bed last night hungry, that's the facts. But if I come to you and say, did you know that 20 million children went to bed with their stomachs aching and swollen and bruised? And they were wondering, did anybody love them? Different game. The art of communication actually is the ability for you, when you speak, to make people actually thinking they're giving the talk. But so many of you are so worried what people think. While you're talking, what they're thinking about is themselves. Well, I did that. I didn't do that. Well, I don't agree with that. Well, I should Google that. Ladies and gentlemen, facts don't inspire people. Emotions move people. If I tell you we want to reach 1 million men, you're going, okay, 1 million men. But if I tell you we are desperately and fired up with great passion going after the hearts of men, and they will never bend over any longer and walk around with their head down. They're going to stand up straight. They're going to have steel in their... You see the difference? There are 3 levels to how your people feel. And you can't get to the 3rd level without going through the first 2. Number 1, people have to feel, satisfied. They've got to feel that they have the tools and the wisdom and the backing to perform. And they got to know they're going to be compensated fairly. Fairly. This is big. And some of you right now, you're in environments where you can't control that. So how you deal with that is everything. So do you know how you deal with that? I know this is not fair, but we're going to get it fair. We're going to work together. But let me tell you what, we're not going to get focused on what I'm going through. I'm going to get focused on where I'm going to. And I'm going to fix it in the future, not right now. Right now, you probably can't mess with it. The second thing is engagement. Are they a part of the team? I'm looking around and I'm going, do these people feel a part of the team? Are they coming into the meetings and they hanging out in the meetings, or do they really feel a part of us? Leaders, this is your role. Because when people feel a part of the team, watch me, listen please, when they feel a part of the team, they now have the ability to grow. Oh. They're making a difference, or they're doing something they believe is valuable. I matter. I matter. Man, we've got to get the best at getting people involved. We've got to get the best at making people know they can trust us, that we're going to equip them. And then now we move to number 3, which is inspiration. and which simply says they're drawing deep and lasting meaning from their work and performing with purpose and passions. Employees who describe themselves as inspired are more than twice as productive as employees who call themselves satisfied. Wow. When they are inspired, you see lower turnover, higher job satisfaction, more productivity, and increased loyalty. By the way, anything you're a part of, this is true. This is true. So, this is really, really important. Are you ready? For you to inspire your team, you must live an inspired life. For you to inspire your team, my buddy Carlos Wood was just here. I did a wedding for a young man that's like another son in our family. And he spent 2 days, and we were in close proximity to each other. And he called me today, and he said, I probably learned more this weekend than I've ever learned in my life. He said, maybe it's because I'm slow, but now I'm starting to understand that if I set the bar with inspiration, not facts, with how I live my life, with the pace of my life, with what I do with my time, with the conversations I have in my life, I now can have a greater impact in people's lives. Wow. Remember, you don't have to know everything to be a leader, but you do have to be yourself. And so let's work on you and see what happens. So I got a question for you. Do you have a dream? Do you have a dream? By the way, if you don't have a dream, I don't know how to help you. I don't know what we're going for. I don't know the value of what's going for. My wife and I love to help people decorate their houses, and it's like we've got a lot of time to do that. But we step into, and we have really dear friends that we help, and once I know what they want to do, once I know the feel they want to create, once I know that, once I know what they want, now I can start looking for what they want. Some of you are so hard to lead because you won't be honest with what you want. We had an outreach. We had 88,000 at-risk kids, and I would go into a city, and we would have these vision nights, and all the city leaders, the mayors, the wealthiest people, the most neediest people, all of them would show up at this meetings. And I would say in the pre-meeting, if you'll just tell me what you want, I'll help you get it. But if you come into the environment and think you're going to sneak around and get it, it's going to slow us down. So I have no judgment. If you want money, tell me you want money. If you want power, tell me you want power. If you want to be in control, tell me you want to be in control. Control is way overrated. Matter of fact, I want to tell every leader to listen to me right now. You better get out of control. You better get out of it. Because it's going to limit you. Because you can only do so much and be someplace so often. Right now, you've got to start letting it get outside of you. Imagine being the God of the universe who came to this earth and said, I'm going to leave the kingdom of God in 12 men's hands. Jacked up, messed up, broken, not the greatest decisions, and, oh, by the way, here's the kingdom. And those 12 got 12, and those 12 got 12, and those 12 got 12, and now there are billions of people. What is it that you're chasing right now that's bigger than you, that's beyond you, that's above you? It just needs you to just give a little pull, a pull. Watch what happens. So in your life right now, I want to ask you, are you bigger than your circumstances, or do you sit around and suck your thumb? Thumb suckers. Because everything's not perfect. Dream your dream. Tonight, I'm going to speak on, honestly, the power of developing your dream and the 4 enemies that are coming after you that you've got to learn how to deal with. Because if you don't, you are going to be so despondent and so distracted and so detoured and so deluded that you're not going to be able to step into your future. What is it in your heart right now that you need to do? Are people around you right now saying, gosh, they have changed? They have changed. So I'm going to challenge you. If you're going to chase your dream, you've got to be a risk taker. You've got to be a risk taker. And if you're not willing to take a risk, then you're not going to grow. And if you can't grow, you cannot become your best. And if you can't become your best, you will never know happiness. And if you can't be happy, what else is there? There's joy, which that's where we want to get you to. That you walk in joy in the midst of the darkest moments of your life. So, what will it take for you to step out? What it will take for you to live your dreams. So, if you want to be an inspiring leader, let me close with this. Number one, become a servant leader. A servant leader. Man, it has a lot to do so much with your being selfless and not being demanding and not asking for the main seat. Most of us think if I get in the seat, then people are going to respect me. I had a pastor come to me one day. You would all know him if I gave you his name. And he said, can you help me? I said, what's wrong? He said, I thought when I reached this level, people would honor me more. Wow. Have you ever thought, if I get here, if I do this, then people will honor me? That's why I think chasing people loving me is really empty. But if I can get you to love God, then we're going to do something together to change the world. And it's going to be a blast. So as you look at your life right now, Jesus comes to his disciples and he says to them, I'm going to wash your feet. Wash according to where you're from. And now, can I tell you, this was a bigger deal than you know, because back then they wore sandals and they walked down dusty trails. Every kind of animal was there. You can imagine what got on people's feet. And Jesus pulls up and says, I'm going to do this. And Jesus puts a stake in the ground and says, you're either going to be into titles or you're going to be into towels. So you got to decide. Which one is it going to be? The greatest among you will be the servant of all. One of the greatest things that I watch, honestly, is that so many people want positions. And I just want to tell you, positions are overrated. You work your guts out to get a position, to get to a level. And I'm not against getting to levels and getting in positions. I think you should be promoted. I think you should honestly have prosperity. But I don't think that should be the thing that moves you in your leadership. I think what should move you is every chance I can get a promotion that will give me the ability to serve more people. Ooh, I'm into that. I am into that, and I think you are too. So as you start looking around right now, how many people do you know that really have this spirit of servant leadership? Are they trying to be seen? Do they want to be in front of the room? Do they talk down to people? Look at your own body language. Are you haughty? Are you prideful? I know this is not popular, but you got to ask yourself, am I full of humility? Is my role every time I stand in front of people, is it to empower people or make myself bigger? Look how powerful I am. That is the definition of a very empty life. Empty life. The most unhappy people I know on this planet are control freaks. Because you think the control is going to give you joy, and it won't. Joy comes through serving and releasing the power. Jesus said, I'm leaving this earth. I'm sending a comforter, I'm sending a teacher, and I'm sending a power that will be released in you to go to the earth. Are you releasing or containing your power? So the other thing I encourage you to do is have a spirit of excellence. If you're going to inspire people, be a servant leader and get excellence in your life. We have a sign at G5 that says we're passionate about life with a spirit of excellence. Excellence is not perfection. Get over it. You're not going to be perfect. But excellence is setting a standard. Now let me tell you, the day you're in trouble, and some of you are in trouble right now, and you don't know it, because somebody else is having to come along in your life and set the standard. What is the standard? Remember, when you lead, you got to lead yourself. And you not only have to lead yourself in your actions, you have to lead yourself in your attitudes and your desires. So, excellence in leading yourself. Are you doing it right now? Are you growing? Sure you are. You're listening to this, and we're growing together. And by the way, just so you know, I've got to grow more than anybody. I've got to grow more. I've got dreams and visions, and I've got callings, and I've got things right now. I've got to grow in my leadership. And I'm being stretched right now like you cannot imagine. And most of you are trying to find a comfortable place where you can go, okay. But there's no joy there. The joy is in growing. The joy is in stretching. The joy is in reading. It is listening to downloads and hanging out with the right people. It is developing new strengths. It is developing a new mindset. It is developing right now where in your life, the first thing you need to do in the morning when your feet hits the floor, you need to say, thank you, Jesus, for another day. And then you need to walk in and immediately hit play on some device that's going to help you grow. And hopefully you'll be honest enough to say, you know, this is my weakest area, and I want to get better so I can inspire more people. Strengthen as you. I want you to know that right now, gosh, I wish I could talk to you for an hour about this. I talked with a young leader this morning, and I just told him, you do not know your value. I can tell when you walk in a place. I can tell how you stand. I tell how you dress. I can tell how you feel about you. You don't know who you are, and you keep selling yourself less and less and less, so you keep attracting, watch this, the wrong people and the wrong opportunities. I gotta let that set. Because some of you are going, why are they so blessed and I'm not? It's because you don't know who you are. If you feel arrogant and you have to be seen, you don't know who you are. If you've got to be in control, you don't know who you are. If you have to be right, who else is going to tell you this stuff? You're not going to be what you were called to be. Do you know how many conversations I have with people that they're wrong? They're not only wrong, they're beyond wrong. And I just look at them and smile. Well, my goal in life is to set people free and straight. Okay, how's that working out? Until someone finds enough humility to come and say, I got to get better. Now they're ready because they're teachable. Okay, you won't hear this most places because can I tell you? Most people are trying to teach you how to know it all. So then you think you can be it all. And it will not work. Well, if I just get more spiritual, then I'll have this. No, humility. God spoke through a donkey. Give me a break. Who do we think we are? Who do we think we are? Am I hurting on you? No, I'm just telling you right now, if you want to be an inspiring leader. So work on yourself. Work on your health. Do you know why you need to work on your health? Because if you don't work on your health, you won't have energy. And the enemy just wants to take your energy away. So I want you to up your energy. What do you mean, Tim? I want you to be excited. Yeah! I'm always amazed when people come to church. Remember, you're not coming to church. You are the church. So when you come to church, I know what you're going through. Hey, everybody I know is going through something. But it's where I'm going to, and it's who I love. And it's who loves me. So I want you to raise your excitement. I want you to raise your voice. Hey. Well, I don't want to be fake. If you think being excited to see people is fake, I got a therapist you need to see. It's why people buy dogs. They're happy to see you. Oh, it's so good to see you. Isn't it amazing? If you don't feel celebrated, there's a good chance you don't want to go back and you don't want to perform. So raise your voice, smile more, be a good finder. Be a good finder. Be kind, be respectful, give honor, be gracious, be gentle, be generous. Us men, we need to learn how to be full of steel and velvet. We need to have strength that absolutely has a softness in it. Do you know why I know Jesus had that part in him? Because children were so attracted to him. Be strong, but have it full of love. Ladies, I probably need to say that to us too, because I know a lot of times we're just tough. We were raised tough. And I just want you to know it's kind. So be tough and tender. Be loving and be caring and be full of joy. I think one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody is when you show up to a place, be full of joy. Just be full of joy. Hi, how are you? It's good to see you. You would be amazed. I got to tell you, I just did this wedding, and an 80-year-old man, I went into the bathroom, and he came into the bathroom, and he looks at me, and he goes, I don't know what you do, but there is so much authority and joy that it inspires me. I was raised a Catholic, and I heard you say things about God today that inspired my heart. Why is that? Is that because I'm great? No, it's because I made a decision to be full of joy. Full of joy. Joy when there's a lot of despair. To speak hope when people honestly feel hopeless. So, I want to encourage you to also have excellence. If you're going to inspire people, notice people. Point them out. Now, some people have such a low self-esteem that they get angry at you when you point them out. What do? I'm so glad you asked. Make a little mental note. Hey, they don't want me to encourage them yet. They don't want me to point out how great they are because they don't feel it. They don't feel it. Have you ever noticed you can say to somebody, you're amazing, you're awesome, and they're grateful, and another person is turned off by it?
Yes.
Do you know why that is? Because people hear at the level of their self-esteem. So you got to keep working on this. So here's the last thing I'm going to tell you is I want you to have excellence in what you want. If you're going to inspire people, know what you want. Know where you're going. There's nothing worse than being around somebody that doesn't know what they want. I watch people go into restaurants. I'm not being mean. But they'll spend 20 minutes looking at a menu. Why don't you think about that in the car on the way? So when the waiter or waitress comes up, you can go, hi. My wife and I went to dinner last night. And this amazing young lady was taking care of us. And she said, hey, I'm going to get you some water. Is there anything else you want? And I said, ma'am, if it would be okay with you, we know what we want because we love this restaurant. She goes, absolutely. And she took her paper out. Now, I happened to look around, aware, and see there were about 10 other tables that, honestly, if I didn't make a decision, I was going to get put in the line, and they were going to take about 30 minutes of my life that I don't have the time to waste. Now, I'm there with my wife. We're looking at each other's eyes. It's a beautiful moment. I get it. But I don't want to be waiting because I got a lot of other things I want to do. for you right now. Are you ready to become an inspiring leader? Are you ready to perform at another level? Are you ready right now to move from being a motivational leader to feeling like I got to motivate everybody, to where you inspire people because you pull the best out of them? Hey, it's our day. Charge, go get it. Rock and roll. Boom. All right. Yay. All right, anybody got questions today? We can take a minute for questions. Hey. Anybody got questions? Yes, Junior.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, I had several. How do I lead my team? How do I raise their self-esteem? How do I help raise their value? How do I make them feel like they're a part of the team?
Matter of fact, I almost spoke on it tonight. There are three things that causes people's to move from being inadequate to being more than enough. And thank God for humility, because it's what weighs it out. If not, we'd all be arrogant, you know what. But believe it or not, it comes through struggle. And most people who have a low self-esteem have not defeated these three things in their lives. Insurmountable odds. I need God to move in this, or I'm going under. When you know the God of the universe will supply every one of your need, and you know that because you've experienced it, insurmountable odds. The Bible is a book about insurmountable odds. It's the children of Israel. It's the fiery furnace. It's Daniel in the lion's den. It's Jesus and the cross. Insurmountable odds. Right? The second thing is challenging relationships. Difficult people to be around. Most people never learn this. They never learn how to walk hand in hand with somebody they don't see eye to eye. And they become very judgmental of people. And once you do that, you become very weak. And believe it or not, it eats your soul up. Because no matter where I go, I'm no good with relationships. It's hard. It's really, really hard. It's why I want to help men and women win at home. Why? Because when you're winning in your personal life, you win everywhere else. There are so many young people right now that feel so bad about themselves. And so we got to help them step into their future. It's why we started the locker room, because I want to help people see themselves differently. And the third one is embarrassing limitations. We all have them. We all have them. We have embarrassing limitations. My wife laughs at me. I have dyslexia, so I'm not the greatest speller in the world. I am getting better. I don't know why, I just am. Okay? It's like everything in my life's getting better. I used to have to wear corrective lenses. I can't even wear them anymore because my eyes are getting better. And I'm getting more mature. And my optometrist is going, what is going on with you? I'm going, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing it, right? I'm taking the blessing of God. What is your limitation? Maybe my limitation is I'm not aware. Maybe I'm not aware of my own presence in a room. Maybe I'm not aware of my own thinking. I'm not aware of my own self-defeating behaviors. You have to be aware. Paul talks about these limitations. And he prayed that God would take it away, and God never removed it. And then he comes out and says this: when I am weak, I am really strong. Everybody you know has a limitation. Life brings limitations to all of us. When I started out, honestly, my family had nothing. I was very embarrassed by that, by the way. I was very embarrassed that we lived in a trailer with 7 kids. And then we moved to a garage, and the way I would go to school is they would raise the garage door up, and all the kids on the bus would look in. I still get emotional about it. I remember walking as a little boy to that bus going, God, with your help, that will never happen to my children. Right? Now, most people would then do this. They would build a limitation in children's lives by giving them everything because their guilt. I have guys right now, ski nautique boats. You know what they are, ski boats? You know how many parents buy 2 boats for their kids out of guilt because they're never with them? So here's what I want to do with my kids. I not only want them to understand that life can be blessed, but I want them to know how go get it. Work ethic is probably one of the greatest things in the world. When you do that and you take pride in your work, it increases your self-esteem. See, people don't know. They don't know what you've been through to be where you are. They don't know where your confidence comes from. It's funny because you come out here and you come in this little building and, if you're not careful, you think this is the size of what we are. But also, I didn't learn my skills in this building. I learned my skills for 30 years in front of 1 million people live. And I'm still learning skills, right? So in your life, embarrassing deficiencies, insurmountable odds, that's how you do it. So right now, let me tell you how that fits in your world. Right now, people are learning and they're stretching and they feel uncomfortable. And here is the challenge. Are you ready? Sometimes I want to move people faster for my benefit, and they're not ready. Oh my gosh, I just opened a can of worms. So you have to work with people. Timing is everything. At the appointed time. Yes, go ahead.
You can rephrase this however you need to, please. So I feel like I'm getting better at asking people what they want and slowing down, but then they still don't move and act on what they should be acting on. So what do I do at that point?
So say that to me one more time, the first part.
So I'm asking people what they want,
okay,
and they're telling me,
okay,
and we come up with a plan, but they're not taking action, and they're definitely not taking action.
People that do not move are telling you they know what they want.
They don't know what they want.
But they don't know what they want. Once a child decides, I want a cookie, they'll climb and risk limbs to get to it. They'll walk. They'll take risks that you'll be going, she knows she's going to get her rear end tapped. And she'll go, it's worth it. Because they know what they want. People that do not move do not know what they want. Or they have an ideal of what they want. They don't have the self-esteem to go get it. I watch Blake and Bree and my children, don't forget it. I'm not only building a church here, I'm building a family, right? And I watched them their whole lives. I'd say, what do you want? Well, Bree went, started early. It's like, Daddy, I want a color. And she's a little tiny, beautiful little girl, 3 years old. And I said, well, go get it. And she's like, no. Now, a lot of people would have thought I was very unloving. But I said, honey, if you want it, go ask the lady, she will give it to you. And by the way, after about 3 or 4 times, I went, if you do, I'll give you $1. I didn't know if that would work or not. I always wanted her to play golf. She hated golf, but she loved chocolate. So she would go play golf with her daddy because she could get chocolate. And I tried. I bought her a pair of really beautiful golf shoes because I thought that would motivate her. And it got her out, but then chocolate took over because she didn't really care about this. She cared about this. By the way, most of us are trying to motivate people with what we want for them instead of finding out what they want and then working with them till they really know what they want. I promise you, if you're leading people right now, I'm telling you with 1,000%, they don't know what they want. Do you know why? Because they don't know what's available. All right. Anybody else got a question? If not, Junior, let me just do this for Junior.
I think on those lines, my question, and I don't know if this is thinking
By the way, if it's too tough for everybody, I'm so sorry, because we kind of take our gloves off in here. Because most of these leaders, listen to this, are really like they're advanced and they're like, hey, get me to performance. Go ahead.
So along those lines, since we're talking about what people want,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when you sit down with somebody, I mean, in the beginning, I had no clue what I wanted because, like you're saying, we didn't know what was even available to us. But when somebody thinks they know what they want, you're looking at them going, that's really not what you want. For instance, I mean, I had a guy telling me about this company that he wanted to build, but it's not that he wanted to build a company. It was that he's got a little daughter that's sitting in a baby seat, and he wants to spend more time with her. So how do you help people to uncover, and discover truly what they want?
What a great question. So when people tell me what they want, and I know what they want, and they don't know how to say it, I'll just look at him and go, hey, Junior, you know that little girl in that baby seat? Could you and I go to work together to get you more time with her? So I lead them into where they really want to go. But a lot of times people, when they say what they want, here's the challenge. They want to try to do it on yesterday's thinking. And they won't grow, and they won't change, and they get to the point where they'll go, I would like more, but I'm not willing to pay the price for it. It's always a price issue. Please hear me right now. Anytime you start negotiating the price, you've already lost. You've already lost. So if I come into your life right now and I would start moving some things, and it would make you very uncomfortable. And I don't have to do a lot of things, because honestly, if I give you 1 or 2, 3 things that you need to change, it's going to take you a while to rev up to change it. And then all you're going to need is a very encouraging environment to make the changes. You think about in your own life, okay? The changes that you've made, think about how hard it was for you to change it. And you're just so sure of it. And when people are trained here, when their thinking is here and they get introduced to thinking that's here, oh, it starts fights. Well, I don't agree with you. Okay, all right. And so most people live life, you know. I mean, it's been the joy of me walking with you and I appreciate it, because I've always been a high performer, and then I just step into your life and go, but Junior, here's your capacity. And then you go for it, and then I tell you, don't go tell your team. Why? Because sometimes your victories are so unrelatable. Like, I had a friend of mine, he had a great marriage, and he would walk around and tell all of his friends, I got a great marriage. I'm going, stop it. You think guys are happy for you. They're ticked at you. I used to have men walk up to me at events and go, I hated you. And I go, what do you mean you hate me? I watch how your wife loves you. I watch how your kids love and respect you. I hated you. You had everything. I'd be like, dude, you don't even know me. You don't know the struggles I'm going through. It doesn't matter. Their thinking is here. I'm thinking here. That causes battles. What happens if we're looking at the same problem and you want to solve it this way and I want to solve it this way? Hence, the battle begins. So if I come to you right now, if I ever sit down with you, right now, I'm going to mess you up. Because you believe with everything inside of you that you should feel what you feel and think what you feel, and I got these issues and you don't understand. And I'd be like, when you're done, it's still not going to change. This is where we got to go. I was just, before I came in here, matter of fact, there was the reason I was late. I was on all these leaders today calling me and going, oh my God. And this is the stuff I'm talking about. Most leaders are doing self-defeating behaviors and they don't even know it. So that shouldn't make you paranoid. It actually should make you very excited. Anyhow, one last question and we'll get out of here. Sorry. Oh, so we'll do her question and I'll do yours, because I know yours is burning a hole. By the way, it's great to see you. I love you. Hi, Tom.
So this actually pertains to me, not anybody else.
Okay.
How do you talk to somebody who wants the change but doesn't handle change very well? Who does that make sense? Who wants the change but
Yeah. So anytime you get ready to move, matter of fact, there's a great book on this called Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? And you can probably get it in paperback because most people don't like change. I don't know anybody's for change. I used to think that followers hated change. I now know that leaders hate change because if I'm going to help you get to another spot, I'm going to take you apart. I have one leader that honestly, he was going to have to get a job. And I went in and I completely retooled him. Now, he's an older man, okay? He's now building a $2 million house cash. It was in him all along. His thinking was here, and I had to move it to here. So how do I deal with that? I keep telling people, I know this is uncomfortable. I'm going to walk with you. You are not alone. And here's what it's going to feel like when you receive this. So just stay with me. Like my wife wants me to eat chicken and grass. And I've been pretty good today, right? Because I'm now reaching the point where, let me tell you what I'm learning about my life. Everything has to be pre-thought. So if I'm going to a restaurant and go, oh, what do I want to eat? Now the whole menu's available. But if I walk in going, guess what I'm going to have today? Doo-dah. So I just walk in, the decision's already made. So when people start to make changes, I will work with them to have preset decisions. So preset actions. One of the reasons I love our men's locker room so much is I had a guy come to me, he's very passionate, and he came to me and he goes, I just want to let you know that my responses are getting better. I can't believe how different I am in my response. I'm like, yeah, that's good. One last question. I hope that helps. Okay. All right. One last and we'll get out of here. By the way, I don't answer all these questions because I feel like I have all the answers. I just have got a lot of bruises on me from working with people. Go ahead.
I get the feeling in my team that I'm kind of starting little fires, but then letting them burn out. Like I'll start, and then I don't know if I should keep pouring in, or I get distracted and start another one here and another one there, but I really should have spent more time here. So how do I get better at knowing?
So I think I understand what you're saying here. Okay. My job is not to start fires. My job is to teach you how to start the fire. And then all I'm going to do is come along and go, how you doing on that? So I have at least 10 to 20 calls a day where I'm just texting and going, how you doing? But if they're not ready to run, then I'm not going to do it because honestly, I start irritating people. and I don't want to irritate people, right? Right? I don't want to irritate people. Because you remember that statement? I don't know why that's always stuck with me. That somebody convinced against their own will is still of the same opinion. And so what is that? What I want to do in people, honestly, is I want to expose people to a deeper, more meaningful calling than what they're presently experiencing. The greatest graveyard in all the world is people with gifts, talents, and abilities that had nobody that would help them step into it. So I watch men and women that could be giants that end up being minnows because they just don't have the mentorship. And what the mentorship is not telling people what to do, it's asking people the right questions and going, well, you do what you need to do, but I've seen this work, so I would encourage you to do it. But most people go and go, well, let me tell you what I do. Tell you about all my success. They don't give a hoot. They want to know, can I succeed? Can I win? Can I overcome? Can I get beyond? Can I become the person? Because you watch people, watch this, because I'm sorry, I need to let you go. You watch people when they get to the level when they're about to start succeeding, and you know what they do? They become a victim. Well, I needed healing, but nobody would put me in the pool. You mean you couldn't yell? I mean, you're going to have to get noisy, right? So in your life, when you get challenged with, I'm stuck, I don't know if I can grow, I don't know if I can handle this, I don't know, but you have the capacity. You're just not willing to pay the price yet. Because being right is more important than getting the right thing done. Okay? So anyhow, get out of here. I love you.